Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're stepping back, way back to the early 1900s in New York, Lower East Side.
Right.
We're digging into a group called the Yiddish Black Hand.
Mm-hmm. That name alone, it grabs you, doesn't it?
It really does. Our source material, mostly drawing from historical accounts via Wikipedia, gives us a window. We want to understand, how they came about, their methods.
And what it tells us about that specific time and place, the immigrant experience, the pressures.
Exactly. So the name Yiddish Black Hand, it immediately makes you think of other groups, the Italian ones.
Yeah, that connection seems intentional. Borrowing that Black Hand label suggests they were tapping into a known template for organized crime, for fear.
So where did they actually start? The info points to around 1906.
That's right. Three key figures mentioned are Jacob Johnny Levinsky,
Okay.
Charlie the Cripple, Vitovsky, and Joseph Toplinsky.
And they kicked things off from a saloon on Suffolk Street.
Apparently so. Started as an extortion ring, basically.
And who were they targeting?
This is the striking part: fellow Jewish immigrants, pushcart vendors, small business owners, right there in the neighborhood.
Why them? Why their own community? Seems complicated.
It does. Maybe there was a calculation there. These communities were tight-knit, sure, but perhaps also isolated, maybe less likely to involve the official police.
A sort of internal vulnerability they could exploit.
Could be. Or just easier targets, perceived lower risk, perhaps. Familiar ground.
Okay, so their method, these anonymous letters, signed Yiddish Black Hand,
Mm-hmm. And the main threat: stealing or poisoning horses.
which, for a pushcart vendor or anyone relying on horse transport back then,
Devastating. Absolutely devastating. It hits their livelihood directly. No horse, no business. Simple as that.
and the sources say they copied this tactic from Italian groups.
Yeah, the Camorra, the Mafia.
Hmm.
That MO was already established, so they adapted it.
Seems like it worked, too. Within a few years, apparently, the Ice Cream Manufacturers Association was paying them off annually.
Shows how effective that threat was. They created a protection racket, essentially. Pay us, or else.
So fast forward a bit to around 1913. Things evolved.
Looks like it. They seem to specialize more.
How so?
Well, Levinsky apparently focused on the ice cream trade extortion. Vitovsky controlled job placements between seltzer and soda businesses,
Yeah.
sort of a gatekeeper.
Okay.
And Toplinsky dominated the produce market, truckmen, livery stables, that whole area.
So they carved up the territory, in a way,
Mhm.
but still worked together.
Yeah, they operated somewhat independently in their fields, but the sources say they collaborated on violence for hire, like a network.
Which brings us to that chilling part, the informant's price list.
Right. It's quite stark.
A fatal shooting,
Yeah.
$500. Non-fatal,
Yeah.
$100.
Poisoning a team of horses, $50. Just one horse, $35.
Stealing a horse and rig, $25. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it puts a number on violence and disrupting someone's life.
It really does. It paints a grim picture of, well, the value placed on life and property, and maybe the desperation on both sides of that transaction. $500 was a lot of money, but maybe not unattainable for someone wanting a rival gone.
And $25 to ruin a vendor by stealing his horse. It's sobering.
Definitely.
So just to frame this, our info comes via that Wikipedia summary, but it cites some heavy hitters. Asbury's Gangs of New York,
A classic, yeah.
Albert Fried's book on Jewish gangsters, a blog post by Jerry Kuntz, a New Voices article.
Right, so it places the Yiddish Black Hand in that broader context. It wasn't happening in a vacuum. Part of the larger story of immigrant experiences, urban crime.
And the whole Black Hand phenomenon itself.
Precisely.
Okay, so to quickly recap, the Yiddish Black Hand starts as this extortion group in the Lower East Side, preying on their own community,
Using tactics borrowed from other gangs, specifically targeting livelihoods like horses.
and then expanding, specializing, dividing up criminal enterprises, but still collaborating on violence.
Yeah, that's the core story we get from these sources.
And thinking about it leaves you wondering, doesn't it, about how immigrant communities, often seeking solidarity, can also become hunting grounds for criminals from within.
It really does. It highlights the pressures, the vulnerabilities, the darker side of adaptation in a new land. And it makes you think, what other stories are buried in these accounts? What were the lives like for the ordinary people caught up in all this?
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thanks for walking us through this.